In the early 5th century BC, the Greek city-states faced mobilization from the largest military force the world had ever seen. The Persian Empire was marching west. To meet that threat on land, a city needed a massive, well-fed infantry, but Athens faced a severe geographic reality. The Attica Peninsula is dominated by rocky, barren limestone, with topsoil too shallow to produce enough grain to sustain a large defensive army. The region also lacked native structural timber. There were no local forests capable of providing the massive beams required to build defensive fortifications or a deep-water fleet. Thousands of Persian troops were advancing, backed by the agricultural and material wealth of 3 continents. Athens, by contrast, was geographically isolated and resource-starved. Engaging in a traditional land war under these conditions was a mathematical impossibility. To survive, the Athenians had to abandon their soil and seek an entirely different strategy. The only viable alternative was to shift the theater of war to the sea by building a massive naval fleet. The primary tool for this strategy was the trireme. Its complex design made it the most resource-intensive military asset in the ancient world, requiring immense quantities of high-grade material and specialized labor. Building such a fleet required importing thousands of tons of timber from Macedon and paying daily cash wages to tens of thousands of citizen rowers. This chart compares the estimated cost of a 200-ship fleet against Athens' meager agrarian GDP. The city lacked the wealth to purchase these inputs. The mathematical shortfall was absolute. Taxation and trade could never bridge this gap. The fleet dwarfed the city's economic output. Survival depended on a massive, immediate injection of hard currency to cover the deficit. The capital deficit was solved by a sudden geographic lottery ticket, a massive deep-vein strike of silver ore at Laurion, 30 miles south of the city. Extracting that silver meant digging vertical shafts hundreds of feet into the bedrock, creating a network of tunnels rarely wider than 3 feet. Tens of thousands of enslaved laborers powered this extraction. They worked in near-total darkness, striking iron against stone for hours in oxygen-starved shafts. The mortality rate was extreme. To keep the extraction running, the state required a continuous flow of replacement labor, funneling new captives into the mines to backfill the dying. While Athenian citizens debated rights and philosophy in the agora, they maintained strict, brutal control over this subterranean workforce. The foundation of the Athenian Empire was built on an underground economy of disposable human lives. Extracting the rock was only the beginning. The state had to industrially process the low-yield ore to concentrate it into usable capital. Engineers constructed elaborate stone washing tables. Using precise fluid dynamics, they channeled water over crushed rock to separate the heavy silver from the useless waste. That concentrate was then moved to massive furnaces, which burned continuously at extreme temperatures to isolate the pure silver metal. The industrial byproduct of this process was a thick, toxic cloud of lead fumes that blanketed the landscape, a physical marker of the scale required to fund the state. The state managed the entire Laurion complex as a sophisticated industrial supply chain, engineered specifically to maximize metal yield. Laurion was a manufacturing engine that converted human suffering and raw rock into weaponized state capital. In a high-stakes geopolitical move, the Athenian government monopolized this silver wealth, directing every ounce toward state defense rather than private distribution. The silver was standardized by striking molten blanks between iron dies, imprinting the city's seal with violent force. This produced the Athenian Tetradrachm, a coin of such high purity and standardized weight that it became the most trusted currency in the Mediterranean. The Tetradrachm bypassed local barter systems, functioning as a global currency that allowed Athens to buy resources from any port. Millions of these coins flowed north to Macedon to purchase the missing timber, which was then shipped south to the Athenian shipyards. The Tetradrachm was the specific mechanism that translated raw subterranean ore into international purchasing power. The second major use of the silver was paying daily cash wages to the lower-class citizens who rowed the newly built ships. This deployment of capital resulted in the sudden appearance of the most powerful naval fleet in the Mediterranean, just as the Persian invasion arrived. This created a macroeconomic loop. Laurion silver minted the tetradrachms that built the fleet. The fleet secured the sea, allowing Athens to extract tribute from allies, which brought even more wealth into the city. This purchased naval supremacy was ultimately the decisive factor in the defeat of the Persian invasion at Salamis. Traditional history often frames this victory as a triumph of democratic philosophy and civic virtue, but the Athenian Golden Age and its military hegemony were strictly subsidized by the toxic subterranean slavery and the